Today I'm talking about what happens after you run out of the allotment of data that you get with Mint Mobile and show you what the data performance is like. Let's go ahead and talk about it. And just a heads up, there's a link in the description. If you guys want to check out Mint Mobile, definitely click on that link. It'll help out the channel. But let's go ahead and get into it. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Everton. Yeah, I've been with Mint Mobile for like 5 years now. And, I've actually liked the service a lot. In my area, which is San Antonio, Texas, a lot of speed. It penetrates through difficult situations like underground garages and concrete buildings really well. But one thing that comes with Mint Mobile is that they do sell data allotments in smaller packages of data, which gives you a lot of option that can really fit your budget, right? So you can buy pockets of like 5 gigabytes of data, which is the one that I have, but there are other options that they offer as well. But what happens after you run out of that data? The performance does tend to scale down, and later in this video, I am going to show you what that data performance is like. But before I go into that, let's talk about what the data is like beforehand. I actually have the 5 gigabyte data plan, and that plan offers a lot of perks, really good performance in my experience. Now, they've also taken off the guardrails on this plan, so you can actually stream 4K 60 frames per second, at least in my area in San Antonio, Texas. When I conducted this test, I was able to get 4K 60, very little interruption, if any at all. I can stream to my heart's content, and it works really well. Now, is this the best thing for 5 gigabytes of data? Is this the best usage? Probably not, because that uses a bunch of data, but at the end of the day, it just is what it is. You do have the ability to do whatever you want at your heart's content when it comes to streaming data. At least there's no systematic caps put in place. Now, what I will say is that I found this to be true for all the plans except for the unlimited plan. And that unlimited plan does have a systemic, which means that Mint Mobile is going to step in and actually kick in a restriction when you try to stream anything over 480 or standard resolution. Now, they actually document this on their website, so it's not a huge surprise, but it is in the fine print. So there is that. But you do have to make sure that you get the plan that works out what's best for your needs. Also, I was able to download a gigabyte or a 3 gigabyte data game, Call of Duty, in about 3 to 4 minutes. So that's really fast internet. It's not gigabit speed internet, but it is really fast and it works out really well. I actually enjoy the service a lot. Browsing web pages, social media, everything works really well, but you can run out of data pretty quickly. So what actually happens after you run out of data? And this is important because after that point in data, you will be slowed down until the next billing cycle, or you can choose to buy another allotment of data. But let's talk about the experience. So I actually conducted a couple tests where it was in a controlled environment where I was still here within my apartment. And it actually took about 2 minutes to load certain web pages that had a lot of pictures and, things on that web page. Now, web page is something that I typically load up, and it will be pretty simple. I'm talking about maybe like under 5 seconds to load the full web page with a bunch of photos on it. This actually took me over 2 minutes to load one website. The performance is really slow just to load the web page by itself. So, it's a lot to have to deal with. But after that point in time, I did take it to another location, and I went to the gym and I tried to stream some, a song, and it did have some buffering. Now, streaming media is, at least when it comes to audio, should be relatively simple. It's an audio track. And I was able to do it, but not without some buffering. Also with navigation, when it came to looking up things on the maps, like Google Maps and things like that, it did even pull up and show that, hey, it thought that I was offline because of how restricted the data is. So in my experience, it's very frustrating to use that data after you actually utilize, the allotted amount of data. So it's very important that, in my opinion, at least, that I know exactly what amount of data I have and that my usage can fit within that time frame. So that's why Mint Mobile has been relegated to my backup line. I use it for whenever I get in challenging situations where I need some data, but maybe I'm in a concrete building or something, or underground garage. I can still penetrate through that because Mint Mobile is really good with T-Mobile C-band. They're really good at that. One of the best C-band mid-bands that I've ever experienced. So what are your options after you actually run out of data? Well, so you can buy an additional allotment of data, which is kind of expensive in my opinion, but I'll throw the rates up on the page. And FYI, they are subject to change. They haven't been always this, but it is kind of expensive when you compare to what you paid normally for data. So a one-time pop-up, these are the prices that you can expect to pay for it. And this will give you an allotment of data that will serve you until your next billing cycle. Also, this top up data does not roll over. So if you happen to use just a little bit of your top up, they won't go into the next billing cycle. You either use it or lose it. Secondly, you can also have the option to just upgrade your plan, right? So what happens is, let's just say that you're on month 2 of your plan, because Mint Mobile does sell plans in bulk. Let's just say you bought a 3-month plan. Then what will happen is, if you're on month 2, they will prorate the amount. If you try to upgrade your data plan to say, hey, I don't want 5 gigabytes anymore, I want a higher allotment of gigabyte of data, they'll just prorate that amount for the remaining term. And you can pay that difference, and you will have that difference every month until your plan or your term runs out. So the data plan itself, in my opinion, once you run out of your data allotment, it is very slow. But one of the cool things that Mint Mobile does is that once you use about 80% of your data, they typically send you a text message, if they can, letting you know that, hey, you used up most of your data. You may want to go ahead and slow down. This will give you the ability to kind of pace yourself and do things like that. Outside of that, though, if you happen to be one of those situations like I did today, where I downloaded a 3 gigabyte data file and then you ran a couple speed tests. So if you do use up too much data all at once, especially if you have like a smaller allotment of data, like myself, the 5 gigabyte plan, you can blow through 80% and go to 100% of your allotted data, and you just won't have the opportunity to kind of pace yourself. So a couple of tips that I like to utilize in order to keep in mind is that, well, if I know I'm on a lesser tiered plan, I do typically put on Data Saver on a couple of streaming networks that I have, like YouTube. I'll put on Data Saver just so that it doesn't use up a bunch of data when I'm trying to watch one video. That's number one. Number two, I do use like some data saving options, like or a data monitor that will kind of let me know ahead of time, like, hey, you've used up a certain allotment of data. There are apps that do this, but some phones do have it built in. So definitely check with their Play Store or your Apple App Store. And lastly, check the app. The app will typically update every 2 hours or so you can kind of spot check on where you are within your data allotment. Sometimes it's a little bit quicker than that, but yeah, so use the app. It's pretty simple, and it puts the data right up front for you, how much data that you have left for the month, and it'll tell you when you have your remaining cycle or your remaining data allotment for the rest of the month. But at the end of the day, I mean, the service is really fast, at least for me when I have it. No complaints at all. But just know that some of that freedom that they give you when it comes to streaming 4K at 60 frames per second can eat up a lot of your data. So yeah, just utilize some of those methods that I talked about to help yourself, if you want to help yourself, stay within that range so that you'll have good data and it won't be as expensive to top up, or you won't have to upgrade your plan altogether. But just want to give you guys that tip. And as a reminder, there is a link in the description. If you want to check out Mint Mobile, click on that link. It'll help out the channel. But until next time, I'm Everton, and I do videos Everton's way. Peace.